Local newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters. Here's what we have coming up for you in news on this Wednesday. Upgrades of DeWitt County's emergency service radios is now in place. The 56th annual Apple and Pork Festival is in the books, and the director of the DeWitt County Museum and C.H. Moore Homestead says it was another successful festival. Also coming up in news today, Maroa-Forsyth schools are celebrating a late homecoming this week. Find out why in news. Hunting is underway. The big hunting season is underway in central Illinois. We hear from DNR officials on this Wednesday, and a University of Illinois Extension Small Farms educator is talking about the end of the growing season for producers. But first, we stream to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. For several months, DeWitt County's first responding agencies have been looking forward to upgrades coming to its communications. DeWitt County Sheriff Mike Walker indicates those upgrades went live this month, and the early reports are very positive.
The system we currently have is an older system, and it was starting to fail. And it was based on having a repeater in Clinton and a repeater in Farmer City, and then in-car repeaters, and that it just didn't work well for us for the last several years. So it was something that was going to need to be upgraded because anymore things don't last as long as they are, and it was getting to the end of life. So fortunately, the county had ARPA money, and we put a new system in place. We got 4 sites now instead of 2, or 5 sites. I'm sorry. We got one in Kinney, Waynesville, Clinton, Farmer City, and Weldon. Our coverage is going to be much better. We were having guys that were being in certain areas of the county. Not only could they not get out on their portable radios, but they couldn't get out on their in-car mobile radios. So the testing for that system started last week. It's working. The coverage that they showed us in a map, it is actually in their testing has exceeded that. So we should be able to have coverage on our system well into some of our surrounding counties. Then, as we were in the middle of this project, we discovered that our portable radios were not supported by Motorola any longer, and something as simple as a on-off knob not working, they would not fix. So I asked the board for more money, for those. And fortunately, they approved that with ARPA money, and we got those ordered. Simply because, again, those are almost 15 years old, and once one starts to fail, they all start to fail.
Tony Harris is the director of DeWitt County's 911 Center and indicates the new system has already proven it will be better than what was in place before in DeWitt County.
Going well. I'm happy to announce that as of yesterday, a year-long project we got completed. It's a joint effort between the Sheriff's Department, the county, the City of Clinton, and my office, CENTCOM, and 911. We just got our radio project finished, where we replaced our main law enforcement channel. We replaced that channel and a backup law enforcement channel, and we are currently working on beefing up the fire radio channel. So it's a joint effort between all disciplines to get this done. We went live yesterday with the main CENTCOM 1 law enforcement radio channel. We had this accident, and it proved itself that this was a good move. This was a good way to spend the COVID relief money, because it was crystal clear. Dispatch could hear the officers could hear dispatch. And
Sheriff Walker points out the county has not had its communications equipment updated in some time and feels this was a worthwhile expenditure of the COVID money from the county.
The system itself, I believe, was a little over 200. I'm wanting to say around 215,000. That was just putting up
really?
Those.
That's it.
That was putting up those 5 sites and those things. The new portable radios that we ordered the Motorola APX 8000s, which is the newest radio Motorola has. For 20 of those, it was about 161,000.
Okay.
There were some cheaper options there, but we decided to go with Motorola because, like I told some members of the board in some conversations, in 1989 I was issued a radio, and that radio was replaced. It was an older radio. It was replaced in like 90, 91, somewhere around there. That radio lasted till 2010 or 11. Yeah, so in
Or
35
that's like 20 years.
in 35 years that I've been here, I've been issued 3 portable radios. So the Motorola product lasts, so that's the reason why we went with that. It's a little more expensive. You don't have many things that you can say you've only had 3 of in 35 years. How many people have 3 cars in 35 years?
Yeah, right.
We've been very fortunate with them holding up, and I expect these radios will probably last a little bit longer because we just invested in outer vest carriers for our guys, which is going to take a lot of their equipment off their hip and put it on their shoulders on this vest. So we got radio holders coming to fit the new radios, so they won't be getting banged on the car doors and chairs and stuff while as they do now on their belt.
Many have been hearing about the Next Gen 911. Sheriff Walker explains this project is completely different from that effort, which is aimed at easier avenues for the public to report emergencies to authorities. The 56th Annual Apple and Pork Festival is in the book after another successful year. Director of the C.H. Moore Homestead and DeWitt County Museum, Joey Long, says the large majority of vendors present at the festival sold out or got close.
Pretty much along the same lines as what you're reporting. So we have talked to a few of them since the festival, and we had a lot of very pleased organizations, some that sold out, some that came close. And again, you know, all of that money that they take in helps them continue with their mission statements. All of them are nonprofit organizations that serve DeWitt County. So, yeah, really good. And, you know, you talked about that number as far as the attendance number. 80,000 is what we hope for. 80,000 is what we consider a little above average. So, you know, we were fortunate in that we went over that number this year. And, you know, this year was a little off perhaps due to the weather factor. As early as the Tuesday before the festival, I had a lot of phone calls at the museum, both people thinking of attending as well as, you know, some of the vendors as well, just, you know, concerned about, you know, they were calling for the high winds and there was a lot of rain around us. We didn't really get the rain here, but a lot of people were leery. But it's good to see that even with those considerations, people still came, and we had a good number this year.
As many listeners may know, the festival acts as a fundraiser for the homestead grounds, which can be an expensive task. Long explains they haven't zeroed in on a project for the funds this year quite yet, but there are a few things it could go towards.
I don't know for sure that anything is earmarked specifically. We do have some projects coming up at the museum. The museum is open April through December, and then we're closed January, February, March. And that is often a time when we can take on those big projects where, you know, you can't be welcoming people in to tour the house if you have a big project going on. So starting in January, the biggest of the projects, they're going to be working on the music room, doing some work on the floor and whatnot. So I'm sure that some of the funds that were raised this year will go towards that. Of course, we always have other projects as well, big ones and small ones. But, you know, every penny that we take in during that festival certainly does help the museum operate. It also, you know, helps us do these bigger projects or, you know, once every 10-year projects or, you know, things like this that come up. So I know that they'll all sit down, the finance committee, and probably, you know, work up a budget and figure out where best to funnel the funds that we're taking in this year.
Long notes the importance of maintaining the homestead's historical integrity, and they do this not only with architecture, but also how they decorate and stage the home. Long explains this can be the reason. This can be part of the reason maintenance is so expensive.
It's done architecturally and also done as far as how the house is staged. So as far as staging for the museum, we try to keep the house in the period during which Mr. Moore lived in the house. So that would be from the 1880s up to 1901 when he passed away. And then as far as making sure that we keep the, you know, the historical integrity of the architecture, that's also always a concern. So for instance, when we had to replace the west porch and the front porch of the house, you know, we didn't put the, you know, that plastic planking on there. You know, they used the wood tongue and groove just as it would have been back then. And they also not only used the appropriate materials in those two projects, but also, when they built the porch back, they built it in the exact same design as it was originally.
Long is grateful for everyone who made the Apple and Pork Festival happen, from museum staff and volunteers to attendees who came and graciously gave their money to support the historical site. News time is 18 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. Still to come here this morning, the busy hunting season is underway for DNR authorities. Captain John Williamson has some reminders for hunters who may not be out yet this year. And a University of Illinois Extension Small Farms educator is highlighting the end of the growing season for producers. A Central Illinois school district is celebrating homecoming a little late on the WHOW Morning Show Tuesday. Superintendent of Maroa-Forsyth Schools, Adam Ibbotson, told Regional Radio they had to move homecoming this year due to Riverton, their planned football opponent, canceling its football season.
Yeah, week 9. So we are having homecoming week this week. Grade school, middle school, high school, all joining in on the celebrations with different dress-up days and themes throughout the week. Just to remind everyone that we had to move homecoming because we ended up with Riverton not having a game, and we had to travel on the road to DeWitt that week. So we were able to pick up a game, but we had to move homecoming. So all of our festivities are this week.
Ibbotson highlights some of the exciting festivities they have coming, celebrating Maroa-Forsyth, like their Powder Puff football game, the bonfire, and, of course, the homecoming parade.
I don't know.
So some of the highlights that are happening, October 23rd, we'll have a Powder Puff football game, which is a tradition at Maroa-Forsyth at 7, with a bonfire to follow after that. The 25th is the game. Prior to the game, there'll be an assembly at the high school for those kids in the middle school, and there'll be a parade around Maroa that they've traditionally had, and then the game kicks off against New Berlin at 7 o'clock. The Maroa-Forsyth Archives, thinking about that group and the foundation, they will be having a tent there that day at the football game. They'll have several things. Tina Horvey does a great job with our foundation and archives, highlighting some of the history in Maroa-Forsyth schools. That will be available that night. So just excited to see the fun happen. This is my first time watching it happen and seeing it. A lot of school spirit, a lot of excitement. We've had a great football season so far, and looking forward to the game on Friday night.
Ibbotson and other administrators were nervous about the scheduling and the weather, but things look like they're holding up, and he's looking forward to a great week celebrating Maroa-Forsyth.
We were nervous about, so we're really cramming it all together. So it's also senior night because it's the last home football game. So senior night's happening with homecoming. We've had to adjust that. I'm a little nervous about the weather for the tent for the foundation and archives, but it looks like the weather's going to hold out and be fine, so we had to move that around. Some reunions often happen around the homecoming time period where they get together. Some had them that week 5 around the DeWitt time still. Others have moved to this time. So I appreciate everyone's working through this. Mr. Appleby, Mr. Stewart, they've really worked hard at this and all of our co-curricular and extracurricular groups. So it's been really fun.
If you'd like more information on Maroa-Forsyth Schools and the homecoming schedule, visit mfschools.net or find them on Facebook. 21 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. More to come on the morning show.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers a full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton or Farmer City. This is what we strive to do each and every day. We'll listen to you, give you options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that is knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full-service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
22 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Wednesday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. Stay with us. Coming up here in sports on this Wednesday, the Clinton Maroons suffer a tough loss to Dee-Mack Friday night. This week, it's on the kids, says Coach Ron Bass. That story comes up in sports here this morning. Monticello has won 7 in a row. They're trying to put the distractions of all the momentum to the side and focus on its rivalry game with Tolono Unity on Friday night. That story in sports as well here this morning. We're just a few weeks away from the always popular shotgun hunting season, and as hunters anticipate for some time their favorite time of the year, Department of Natural Resources Conservation Police Captain John Williamson reminds to give those tree stands a good once-over. He says it never fails. They always seem to have a call of a hunter falling from a tree stand.
Every year we do the same discussion, what the first thing, probably should have happened in July, August, September is go out and check those stands. If you've left stands up, make sure they're still in good shape. The one accident that I know of off the top of my head was a stand that the guy admitted that this is a stand he thought was in good shape, whatever, and when he got up in it, tried to was just putting a safety belt on, it fell down, and then he went about 20-25 feet to the ground. So you've got to make sure and check those things out beforehand. If they're metal stands, make sure check the welds, give them a good tug. You make sure they're in good shape. If they're wooden, make sure they're still attached to the tree, everything else. But all in all, use those safety harnesses. Use a climbing harness, because they make them now where you can basically have a harness the whole time you're going up a tree, which is really good. So look into those kind of things, but make sure you get those safety harnesses on and use them. That can save your life. I've seen them 40, 50 feet up in a tree. They've got some that'll climb that you can actually attach to the base of the tree, and then you use it to climb up the tree as high as you want to go. Those are probably some we have the most problems with, or are the most dangerous. But yeah. Anytime before you're going to use it, go make sure it's in good shape. Make sure your safety harness is in good shape. It's just important. And before you go out, make sure somebody knows where you're going. Everybody has a cell phone now, which is great. So that if you do have a problem, at least you've got that. We've got some stories of accidents and people getting out there because they saw them on their trail camera that they had fallen out of a tree stand, with the new cell cameras, different things like that. So just make sure somebody knows where you're going, be able to let them know you're in and out of your stand, everything else going on. And safety is the first thing. We got to be safe to have fun, and enjoyment's the next part.
Captain Williamson indicates last week leftover tags in certain counties became available. While there are areas of the state that seem to sell out fast, there are always a few tags that may be in an area close to you.
Extra tags will be coming up for sale at your local vendors, so if you go in there, you can get whatever's left over the counter and be able to get tags. There's always counties that are sold out by the time this rolls around, but there's still quite a few open counties. I know there were some for Macon around. So usually these counties have a few left, but not a lot. So if you're interested in getting them, get in there and get them. For the archery season, yes. Yeah. So there's 5 counties that are restricted doe harvest until October 31st. You've got Macon, Champaign, Piatt, Moultrie. No, Moultrie's not in anymore. I'd have to look it up but check those counties. There's the 5 counties that are going to be open or going to be closed for that. So you just got to make sure that you don't shoot a doe until October 31st. It was the 15th. Now they push it till the 31st. You can shoot as many does as you want, but if you can only shoot 2 antler deer in a year. No matter what, unless there's always an unless. The deer code's always like this. Unless you're under one of the CWD counties, which are north of here, which actually one of the closest one now is Ford. Ford became one of the CWD counties last year. Okay. Ford and Livingston. If you are in those CWD counties, it does not count during the CWD hunt. But any other time during the year, you're allowed 2 bucks only.
It went into effect last year, but Captain Williamson reminds hunters to be mindful of the changes around rifles and hunting.
There's really nothing new except, we do have the new rifle law. It came into effect last year, just after the shotgun. No, it was in effect last year. So make sure you realize what rifles are legal. We get a lot of questions. If you look at our DNR website, it'll give you a lot of information on that. But basically, all straight wall calibers are legal, so anywhere from a 350 Legend all the way up to a 4570 are legal, but they've got to be a straight wall cartridge unless they meet certain specs. So if you have any questions about that, hit our website up. It'll give you a lot of information on what calibers are out there and would be legal. We used to not allow rifles at all. They went to pistols. Well, now they've gone to where they allow straight wall caliber rifles. Basically, it's calibers and bullets that are a lot the same as what you would shoot out of a muzzleloader, which has always been legal, and out of a shotgun, which has always been legal, but a lot less recoil, that sort of thing. Much more kid-friendly for what's out there, that sort of thing. So it's just another option to use while you're deer hunting.
For more information on all things outdoors and hunting in Illinois, visit dnr.illinois.gov and find the Illinois Department of Natural Resources on most social media platforms. Whether you lead a big-time farming operation or grow produce in your backyard, the end of the growing season is here. Doug Gooker is a small farms educator and agronomist for the University of Illinois Extension in DeWitt, Macon, and Piatt counties, and indicates low prices are something producers on a bigger scale are not immune to. A recent publication by the University of Illinois is promoting defensive planning for producers.
One thing that recently has come out from the University of Illinois Ag Economist is they're stressing 8 strategies for surviving these low prices. And as they point out, low prices in agriculture are part of the cycle. If we have high prices, they're typically followed by low prices. And those low prices, unfortunately, tend to last 3 to 7 years, depending on what happens in the world and demand. And so they're just pointing out that, be defensive in your planning. Remember, you want to be a profitable farmer. It's dollars per acre, not bushels per acre that is going to keep you in the business. And so that is the point they're trying to stress, is think about dollars per acre, not bushels per acre, because it's the dollars in your pocket that are going to keep you going.
For those growing vegetable gardens, Gooker indicates the growing season is about over. Even if growers have a greenhouse, the daylight hours are not sufficient any longer for good growing conditions.
Well, actually, right now, our produce growers, a lot of them are in the wind down mode because we're going to be getting a frost soon, and the days are getting shorter.
For more from Gooker on small farms operations and other ag musings, find his offerings at extension.illinois.edu/DMP. News is brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and we stream to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Local sports on the way after network news.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Millions of Americans cannot afford to buy a home or rent or a suitable apartment for that matter, making housing a central issue for voters in the upcoming election. The Harris and Trump campaigns have both laid out plans aimed at boosting home construction. Among Harris's policy proposals, tax incentives to build $3 million worth of additional homes and rentals, and $25,000 to individuals or families in down payment assistance. Donald Trump's policies would bolster the housing market by the same kind of policies he's used as a business leader in New York. All over the country, people with more education say they're leaning more Democratic, a shift that's reshaping American politics. One of the places where it could have the most impact this year is in Center County, Pennsylvania, of course, a key battleground state. 2024. This is SRN News.
496.
With SRN Sports, I'm Jeremy House. In the NBA, the defending champion Boston Celtics opened the regular season with a banner performance in a 132-109 rout of the New York Knicks.
Boston matched the 2020 Bucks for the most three-pointers made in a game with 29, but missed its last 13 attempts trying to break the record. Jason Tatum scored 25 of his game-high 37 points in the first half as the Celtics led by as many as 35. Jalen Brunson and Miles McBride scored 22 apiece, while Karl Anthony Towns had 12 points and 7 rebounds in his Knicks debut.
That's correspondent Gethin Coolball reporting. Elsewhere, LeBron James and Bronny James became the first father and son to play in the NBA together during the Los Angeles Lakers' 110-103 victory over the Minnesota Timberwolves. The 39-year-old LeBron James and his 20-year-old son played almost 2.5 minutes together. This is SRN Sports. In the NHL, after opening the season at 0-5-0, the Nashville Predators finally find some success.
The Nashville Predators finally broke into the win column, beating the visiting Boston Bruins 4-0. UC Saros returned to his Vezina Trophy caliber form, turning aside all 33 shots he faced for his first shutout of the season and the 24th of his career. Former Norris Trophy winning defenseman Roman Josi had 2 helpers, winger Luke Evangelista had 2 points of his own, And veteran center Ryan O'Reilly had a goal and assist as well.
That's correspondent Jeremy K. Gover reporting. Other winners included Washington, Minnesota, Buffalo, Tampa Bay, the New York Rangers, Columbus, Detroit, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Colorado, Carolina, Ottawa, Calgary, Anaheim, and Vegas. In baseball news, Shohei Ohtani's 50th home run ball was sold at auction for nearly $4.4 million, a record high price. This is SR.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. After a brutal loss to Dee-Mack Friday night, the Clinton Maroons will face a win and in scenario for the postseason. Dee-Mack pulled out all the stops in a 38-20 win over Clinton, putting the Maroons at 4-4 on the season and needing a win Friday night at El Paso Gridley to qualify for the postseason. Coach Ron Bass says his team got beat at the point of attack Friday.
Defensively, we got whipped up front. I mean, they were just bigger and stronger, and we were up front, and were able to move us. And, we had opportunities to make plays, but, tackling killed us tonight. There was a lot of missed tackles, from our linebacking crew, a lot of missed tackles. It's one of those things where it's like the fundamentals. Sometimes you get so caught up in all the formations and the wackiness that you get out there, and you lose sight of your fundamentals. So, that's part of being a good team, is continuing to be a fundamentally sound team, even when, you're being stressed cognitively by what the offense is throwing at you.
Coach Bass pulled a few tricks from his sleeve Friday night, but he says ultimately it did not matter because of how good Dee-Mack was up front through the course of the game.
It's not an easy job, I will tell you that.
Absolutely.
No, I mean, we're trying to get, for us, we're trying to get our athletes, our best athletes with the ball in their hands. So I think you probably noticed based off those play calls who the best athletes we have are. So from their standpoint, that's that like I said, that there's they're big, so they're just using those offensive linemen to their advantage, and they're trying to catch you misaligned, and I felt like we were aligned pretty well tonight. It's just it didn't matter. We got beat up front.
After 4 straight losses and coming into a must-win game in Week 9, Coach Bass is putting it on his team this week.
Well, we'll see on Monday. We'll get together with the kids and see where they want to go and what they want to do. So I challenge them with that. What do you want to do? How do you want us to coach you this final week? So we'll see what the kids have to say Monday.
After the Maroons travel to El Paso Gridley Friday night to wrap up the regular season, the Titans are playoff eligible at 5-3 and have won 3 in a row. Game time Friday is 7 p.m. Hear the action on 92.3 FM and 106.5 FM WHOW and online at DeWittDailyNews.com, as well as our digital platforms. Monticello is back in the state rankings and winners of 7 straight. All the excitement left Monticello football coach Coley Welter feeling like his team was caught up in all the excitement after a 28-13 win over Prairie Central Friday night in Monticello.
After the game, that's what we talked about, is sometimes you got to slog through some games. I wasn't overly pleased with how we came out, preached all week, and talked about senior leadership and talked about not being satisfied with last week, and it's tough. I mean, and people get excited, people start telling them things, hey, and they're 18-year-old, 17-year-old, 16-year-old kids, they start believing it. It's like, we have a lot more to accomplish, and so a little disappointed with that, but we talked about it. I thought when we needed to, we made the plays we needed to, and again, sometimes winning ugly is still winning. Let everybody else enjoy what's going on, the celebrations, the atmosphere, the environment, all the stuff that goes on, that's for them. And I pointed to the football field. This is us. This is for us. This is where we focus, right? Let everybody else enjoy that. You focus on, what it takes to get better every week. And
Coach, the Monticello run game has been a work in progress all season, and Friday night the Sages were able to put the game away with a long, methodical drive that leaned on the run game late. Coach Welter was pleased to see that.
I feel like knock on wood, that a lot of times when we've been in a fourth down, a medium, short situation, we've come through this year. We've gotten those tough yards. In years past, we being 4th and 1, and it's the worst down for me because I'm like, we struggled. Struggled the quarterback sneak, struggled to get a yard, struggled to do that. And I thought Prairie Central did a very good job defensively against the run, and we had trouble running the ball tonight. But like you said, when we needed some big plays, even I think early in the game, we hit a Nolan on a flood. That was a big play. And then, right there, like you said, we at least took the timeout clock. I would have liked to punch it in there, but you're right. We took the clock off and did what we needed to do.
Really. Monticello's run defense kept 2 dynamic playmakers in check in back-to-back weeks. Coach Welter has been pleased with the defense of late.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, last week was exceptional, and I thought for the most part tonight we did an excellent job as well. They have 3 pretty solid backs, and Alt, he's you can see how fast he is, but he's a hard runner. You just notice that he just keeps his legs churning, and he's just a physical kid. So it wears on you defensively.
Game time Friday night is 7 o'clock. The Sages travel to Unity for a rivalry game to finish out the regular season. Monticello has not beaten the Rockets since the 2018 season when Monticello went on to win the state championship. Again, game time is 7 o'clock. Hear all the action on 95.9 FM WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. The annual WHOW WEZC High School Football Playoff Preview Show can be heard this Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. Hear from high school football coaches from around Central Illinois whose teams will be playing postseason football. Then hear as the pairings are released and where your school lands in the playoffs. The show will originate from the WHOW studios and can be heard on 92.3 FM and 106.5 FM WHOW at 95.9 FM WEZC, streaming online at DeWittDailyNews.com and on Facebook and YouTube. That's the annual high school football playoff preview show on Saturday night from 7 to 9 p.m. on WHOW, WEZC, and all its digital platforms. The New Orleans Pelicans were open to trading Brandon Ingram in the offseason, while the Chicago Bulls were open to trading Zach LaVine. But neither team received a satisfactory offer for their former All-Stars. So when the two meet tonight in the season opener in New Orleans, Ingram will still be in New Orleans and LaVine will still be in Chicago. Both teams did make significant moves in the offseason to try to break out of the middle of the pack in their conferences. New Orleans acquired guard DeJounte Murray from Atlanta in exchange for 4 players, though none of them were starters. Murray was not with the team at the beginning of the week because of a family emergency, though he is expected to return. New Orleans is excited to pair Murray with Ingram and forward Zion Williamson, but it has uncertainty at center after sending Jonas Valanciunas to Washington. Journeyman Daniel Tice, European rookie Carlo Matkovic, and first-round pick Yves Misi will rotate in at center. The Pelicans may also play with a traditional center at times. Last year, Chicago wrapped up the regular season 39-43 and did not make it past the play-in tournament. In July, the Bulls traded leading scorer DeMar DeRozan to Sacramento in a 3-team trade that brought them guard Chris Duarte. That deal came after Chicago traded Alex Caruso to Oklahoma City for guard Josh Giddey. In the process, the Bulls got younger, and head coach Billy Donovan has prepared his team to play a faster tempo. Goaltender Connor Hellebuck, last season's Vezina Trophy winner, recorded 27 saves and sparked the Winnipeg Jets to a 3-2 victory over the St. Louis Blues Tuesday night. Scoring for the Jets were Nino Niederreiter, Colin Miller, and Kyle Connor. All 3 goals came in the second. Cole Perfetti assisted on all 3 goals. Brandon Saad scored both goals for the Blues. Robert Thomas assisted on both. Hellebuck is 16-5-2 in his his career against St. Louis and improved to 5-0 this season. Jordan Bennington had 21 saves for St. Louis, who closed out a 4-game homestand. Winnipeg has owned the Blues over the last 3 seasons, winning 10 of the past 12 matchups. Saad earned his 500th career point in the first period when he scored his first goal this season at 10-11, giving St. Louis a 1-0 lead. Saad has 254 goals and 246 assists in his 857-game career. The 31-year-old was a second-round pick by the Blackhawks in 2011. The Blues begin a 4-game road trip against Toronto on Thursday. Danton Heinen scored 2 of Vancouver's 4 first-period goals as the Canucks beat the Blackhawks 6-3 Tuesday night for their 3rd straight win. JT Miller had a goal and 2 assists for the Canucks, who closed out a 3-1 road trip. Brock Bossert, Connor Garland, and Pius Suter scored. Kevin Lankinen had 31 saves against his first NHL team. Heinen finished a pretty passing sequence. 21 seconds into the game, he picked up his 2nd goal of the season at 10:46, giving Vancouver a 3-1 lead. Taylor Hall, Ryan Donato, and Tyler Bertuzzi scored for Chicago in its 3rd loss in 4 games. Peter Mrazek had 24 stops. Hall's goal with 6:31 left in the first was his 2nd of the season and 700th career point. The Blackhawks went 1 for 5 on the power play, while the Canucks were 2 for 3 with the man advantage. Chicago will host Nashville on Friday. Get sports anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.